When you're creating a trifold, you need to realize it has two sides, so we will be doing two different files, one for the front, one for the back. If you open up the templates and have them both open at the same time, you can flip through them either by clicking on the little tabs up here at the top or using a shortcut, which is Command tilde. Tilde is the key underneath the escape button that has a weird little squiggle. So I would highly recommend grabbing a piece of paper and folding it up so that you know how this trifold goes together. This specific one is so that if it's laying on front, the paper is laying in front of you on the desk or whatever you're in front of, you grab the right side and fold it in, and then the left side and fold it over the top of that. That's how this one's designed. So this would be the outside front, this is the outside back, and this is the outside fold in. The pink line indicates where the bleed is, so the ink needs to go out to that line. The blue line indicates where you should have no text going beyond that line. So inside that blue line is the safe area. It won't be in danger of being trimmed. And the solid black line is your trim line. And these are your little tick marks that will help you trim it. The dotted line indicates where this should fold. So let me show you how to set up to work for this file. First thing you want to do is create a group folder that all of your layers will go into. And to do that, you go to your layers panel, click on the flyout and choose new group. You can give it a name, click OK. Then we'll put a layer mask on this group, and that way all of the layers that are in it will have the same layer mask on it. So grab your rectangular marquee tool and make a selection of this outside pink area. You want it to be the same size as that. Roughly the same size as that. Once you have your selection made, click the Add Layer Mask button in the bottom of the Layers panel. And now if you create a new layer and fill it with color, you can see that that color stays inside of the bleed area, which is great. And the reason we do this is we don't want to be messing up our whole paper with ink and overlapping graphics that overlap out to the outside area. We don't want to have anything that covers up our trim marks, and we also don't want to waste unnecessary ink, which is all a good reason to organize it like this. Now you can work in a different way. This is how I would recommend working, just as long as you can see your trim marks and there's not a lot of excess ink on the outside. Now there's a slight problem. A lot of my guides have been covered up by this color. So to fix that, click on your background layer, duplicate it by hitting Command J, and then click and drag that layer up to the top of your layers box. Set its blend mode to multiply, and then lock it by clicking the little lock icon, and that way you won't accidentally trim or move it away or transform it. So that's how you would set up your file. When you print, you need to remember to turn this top template layer off. You don't want to print any of those lines. And when you trim, what you'll do is you'll take a ruler and line it up to the edges of that little trim tick mark, and then take your really sharp X-Acto knife or some sort of sharp trimming blade, and don't cut from the top of the paper to the bottom, because that will actually slice off trim marks that you still need. Just cut from the top of this trim mark down to about the bottom of that trim mark, and then you can rotate your ruler and do the same trim to the other parts of the paper. If you want, you can actually make little folds before you trim this out where those folded lines are, so that you'll know where to fold and you won't have to guess where your third mark is once you've got this all cut out and folded. And then you would do the same sort of thing to the B side, and this is an inside. So on the outside, when you design, look at each of these panels as if it were all by itself and not surrounded by other stuff. You can do that and see just the one panel by selecting the panel, going to Select Menu and choosing Inverse, which will make everything except that panel inversed. Make a new layer and then fill it up with black or white or some color, and then all you will see is everything that's on that one panel. And I would recommend doing that for the outside, where you see each of these panels separately. This style of flyer is meant to be viewed all as a whole on the inside. So once you open it up, it's just like an 8.5 by 11 horizontal page, or really vertical, but it makes more sense to have it horizontal. So you don't need to be so much concerned about keeping things to the 3 panels. You may keep things to the 3 panels if you've got a lot of information to convey. Having things in smaller chunks sometimes is easier to visually take in than having just huge chunks of text. And that's how you set up your trifold. And then make sure that, just once again, make sure that you're not printing that template layer on top. Turn it off before you set up for print.